Welcome to episode 6 of Raise the Floor. Today we've got Adam Smith from A Game Consultancy. Adam, tell us a bit about first what you do and how that started.
So it's a high-performance coaching business. We've changed who we serve and how we help people quite drastically over the last 5 years. But primarily it's CEOs, founders, business owners, directors, really anyone that wants to change their life. It doesn't mean that we appeal to everyone because of our marketing, because of pricing structure, offering, etc. But what I mean is that when people ask me what a high performer is, I think it's anyone that wants to better themselves. I know some CEOs that are massively overweight and drink too much but have good businesses. I know some people that have come to us that have a modest 9-to-5 job but they're fit as a fiddle and they want to improve their mindset. So yeah, I would say the main target audience is CEOs and founders. But yeah, we do everything from mindset coaching using talking coaching / therapy strategies. We use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to help reset the labels and beliefs that hold people back and the thoughts that they have around themselves. We do DNA testing for people to check their nutrigenomics, their internal health, their nutritional therapy. We do personal training. We host men's retreats. We've got a podcast. Do all sorts, mate. So,
Busy man.
Yeah, that's it. It's great, though.
So let's go back. How did you find yourself in this job? Is coaching always been a part of what you do, or have you?
Kind of. The reason why I say kind of is that I've worked in hospitality from the age of 18 to probably 32. I'm 37 now. And I became a manager at like 20. So I've been helping people for years. And I've been studying self-development probably from when I was 18. So when I used to play FIFA as a kid or a teen, I'd have self-development videos on the background. I don't know why. I just loved looking at human behaviour. I've got ADHD and I've got dyspraxia, so I've become very aware of my surroundings, every idiosyncrasy in someone's facial expression or body language that changes. I'm fascinated by it. So it started out with Paul McKenna tapes and CDs, and then it was Tony Robbins, and then Jim Rohn and Les Brown and people like that. They're just amazing speakers and coaches. And then I tried my hand at personal training in my early 20s alongside the bar work and realised that wasn't really for me. I didn't really like training people at that time. I wasn't mature enough to train people at that time and have empathy and compassion. I just thought, I train, why don't you train, you know?
Yeah.
And using the same approach for everybody just didn't work because I was really into the motivational speaking stuff and I was like, come on, let's go. And I've got the, ladies who lunch in Harrogate kind of crowd, and they're thinking, why are you screaming at me, and I just want to sit on the bike.
David
and
Goggins at breakfast.
Basically, mate, I got my approach all wrong. So then as I progressed through my career, I just managed more and more people, worked my way up the ladder in that industry, and noticed patterns in human behaviour, and the main commonality was that there weren't any. Everyone's managed individually. And I found that really interesting. How can you get the best out of John that might not get the best out of Sarah? I have to alter my approach and read human behaviour. So I carried on studying that. And then it got to maybe late 20s, early 30s, where panic set in. Because I thought, I can't do this forever. The further you go up the ladder, the more stressful it becomes. The pay in hospitality, by and large, isn't great. So all I saw was a path to more stress and less time with family or friends, or even just have time for myself. And it got to around probably the January before lockdown. I'd just taken on a new job. And the owners were amazing. It was actually managing the Mojo in Leeds. And the owners were brilliant with me, but the hours were brutal. It's a late night venue. I was working till 6 a.m. When lockdown hit, I was, 130 kilograms in weight, and I'm 6'4", but I was probably carrying about 4 stone too much, drinking way too much, eating junk food, felt like shit, looked like shit, and I knew something had to change. So when the lockdown came, I was kind of like, okay, everyone thought it was going to be for 3 or 4 weeks. And then it materialised, it just kept going and going, and then I got furloughed, and I thought, right, what am I going to do now? So I looked online, looked at courses. A Tony Robbins course came available, and I thought I'll give that a go. It's like a 6-month program, but I did it in 3 because all I had was time, and I was doing 15-hour days to get it done. I thought maybe I'll do life coaching, maybe I'll do PT again, might transfer these skills to become a football coach. I don't know, but I just want to help people. And then I started posting online about the transformation I went under. So within that period, I started getting up at 6 rather than getting in at 6. I was eating healthily again. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I was drinking more water. I was doing 10K steps a day, maybe more. I ended up losing about 30 kilograms in weight and felt incredible. Energy levels through the roof. I started posting pictures of myself online, transformational pictures. And I said, I've just become a coach. And I got 4 clients in a week. I was like, holy shit, there's quite a lot of people really struggling right now. So I did that for about 6 months, but I became very lonely because I wanted to be part of a team. And I was part of huge teams for years, and now it's just me and my laptop. And there's no one to talk to other than your partner at the time or your friend or whatever because of lockdown. And 2 of my clients, coincidentally both called Adam as well, were just amazing. And they were doing something in a different field, but around self-development. One was a physio/PT, and the other one was a nutritional therapist. Right. And I loved talking to these guys. They had so much energy on the calls. And they just needed a bit of guidance and perspective on how they could shift their own mindsets. That's why they came to me. I said to my partner, I'm going to approach these guys and see if they want to go in together as a business. Because at the time, there wasn't anything really like it, doing mindset, exercise, and nutrition. And I rang them both and just said, got this idea, want to run it by you? And they're both like, yeah, we're in, straight away. I was like, holy shit, that was easy. So we formed A-Game, obviously A-Game, positive connotations. I want to be on my A-Game, A as in Adams as well, that kind of worked. And we went with consultancy because I thought bigger picture, how can we make this a business name that isn't just associated to coaching? It means we can transfer the skills to business coaching, to going in and doing consultancy work for corporates. If people get invoiced, we can put it through the business because coaching is a grey area, consultancy isn't. So there was strategy behind it as well. And off the back of that, we hired a coach, and he said you need to use this method, which is around Facebook groups and building a community, do webinars, and then try sell people. And we sold 15 clients in the first month. We're like, oh, fucking hell, this is amazing.
Something in this.
Yeah, this is great. So anyway, through trial and tribulations and challenges, we've gone from strength to strength. After about a year and a half, we bought out the other Adam. We thought 3 was just too many. No, it just wasn't aligned anymore. He wanted to go down the property route, and he wanted to get away from one-to-one help. So we bought him out, and then from there, it was just a hockey stick moment for my business partner, Adam Mayhew, and I, because we were so aligned. When it was the 3 of us, it was kind of like, yeah, I know, but, and we all had opinions on things, and we just kept getting stuck. Yeah. And the biggest cost in anything in life is indecision, because there's opportunity cost. So we went all in on the route of helping people remove alcohol, optimize their mindset, improve their nutrition through DNA testing and blood testing, et cetera, and the business just went crazy from there. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far, and I feel like we're just getting started 5 years in.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpick there.
There is, yeah.
So I just want to go back to that time when you were in COVID, and you kind of what you were feeling at that time. Was it kind of a penny drop moment, or was it did it build up? I'm just like understanding your mindset at that time that made you realise that you needed to change.
I couldn't go back to what I was doing before because I'd probably be dead.
Right.
A year prior to that, I nearly ended my life. I got to a point where I was drinking so much. I'd got forced out of another job. My partner left. I lost 3 family members in the space of, I think, 3 weeks. And then fast forward a few more months, I lost another person close to me. Again, ballooned in weight, single, unemployed, fat, miserable. That wasn't the blueprint that I had in my mind of where I'd be at 30, 31. And it all came to a head, one of the wakes, and sank 10 beers and was hurtling towards a bridge at 100 miles an hour. And I thought, this is it. I've finally decided I want everything to end now. And I got a phone call from my mum. It just said, because I've been at hers earlier in the day after the wake, and she just said, oh, hi, Ad, you've left your wallet here. Do you want me to drop it off for you? As soon as I heard her voice, it was just bang. Something just clicked, hit the brake pedal, car spun out of control. Luckily, no cars were coming either way because it would have had a ridiculous consequence. And I just pulled into a lay-by and just sobbed, and I knew that was my rock bottom. It couldn't get any worse than that. And over the course of around a year to 18 months, I started to rebuild. But as I was at Mojo and getting in at 6 or 7 and it was just relentless, mate. It's horrendous. The workload, not the pressure from head office or anything like that. I'm not bad mouthing them. It was just the job. It was just coming. It was all consuming, and the suicide ideation thoughts came back. And mate, the drinking at one point, I was consuming probably about a bottle and a half of spirit on a Saturday night while working. That was normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was drinking 10 pints every night, but when I did drink, it wasn't just big, it would make your eyes water. And I don't say that to impress anybody, I'm pretty horrified by it now, but I've also made peace with those reasons why I drank. So the short answer is I had to change, but I realised that although all those circumstances prior, when I had the suicide ideation, were awful and really challenging, when I fast forwarded a year and a half later, I was just more doing depressed by my actions and my habits.
Your mindset had changed, but your actions hadn't.
Correct, yeah. So I was like, I want to change, but I'm not. So then I've got this, what's referred to as cognitive dissonance, where you have an ideology of where you want to go and you have your current reality of your behaviours. And if they're not aligned or you're not making any work towards them, it's almost like cognitively, if you imagine the pain that goes through this, and everyone has it, if you get 20 rubber bands and wrap them around your fingers and pull them apart, it becomes quite painful. That's what's happening sort of in your brain. That's how it's been described by a specialist that I saw years ago. And so people say, I want to quit drinking, but then they go out and get pissed out the head of the weekend. I want to lose weight, can't stop eating the pizza. That's the dissonance I'm referring to. So I was stuck in this limbo, but I was doing depressed in my actions. And when I started getting up at, it all started by eating a bit healthier. I was like, right, let's choose the
salad. This is a gradual thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you could say any one of these links to the next one. But when you drink a bit more water and you eat a bit healthier, you feel a little bit better. Then you're probably going to sleep a little bit better, which means you're a bit more rested. Now you're sleeping better, you've probably got a little bit better energy. And then now you've got more energy, your workouts can become more intense. As the workouts become more intense, you start drinking more water and eating healthier, you become lighter and more agile, so therefore the output gets higher. And then 10k steps suddenly becomes easier because before you're blowing out your ass walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And then that all compounded, and it just got to a point around August 2020, the day after my partner's birthday, and I just said, I need to take a break from booze because this is not serving me anymore. I've hated alcohol for 20 years. I only drank to people please and to mask my emotions and to fit in.
How long did it take you to realise that, though? How did you know that at the time, or is that something you learned?
I knew the first time I drank alcohol, I hated it. And I was 14.
Yeah.
I had 6 pints in Spain on a family holiday. Me and my mate escaped from our family, not escaped, but we went off to be boys will be boys.
Yeah.
And they served us at 14. And granted, I was 6'4" at the time, but we drank 6 pints at 14 and literally decorated the streets of Spain with everything you can imagine. And honestly, that feeling I had, I was like, I never want to feel this again. But then all your friends are doing it in the parks, drinking bottles of cider or bottles of vodka as it progresses. And then 18, it becomes the done thing. And then through your 20s, it's just part of your life. And then 30s, it's a coping mechanism until the pain outruns the pleasure. And I hadn't had enough pain to change up until that point where I just looked at it. I thought, what am I doing this for? I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it to appease other people. And I just thought, I'm just going to take a break. And that break's lasted 5 years now. And that's the single biggest transformational tool. Because everyone knows intellectually drinking water, eating healthy and getting outside is good for them. But the reason why people don't take action is due to low self-esteem. They feel like they deserve to feel like shit. So that's their story. So I have to live in alignment with my story. But when I took the break from alcohol, everything changed.
Do you think that's everyone, or is that just a part of the people who are kind of going through that process? I'm just thinking, because I don't think everyone's in that battle, are they, that they know it's wrong. I think some people like a drink and some people don't, and some people it controls lives, some people it doesn't. It's a spectrum, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Where on that spectrum do you think you were? Is that everyone, would you say?
I was in the top 3 percentile of alcohol consumption in the UK.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my mates, I've never been in the top 3% for anything, you know. But the doctor literally said to me at 31, right, Mr. Smith, if you carry on drinking the same way that you are now, you're going to be dead by 40. This can't continue, because it was ludicrous. But again, to reiterate, when it was during lockdown, from that gap from, say, March to August, I'd maybe have a beer a weekend. I wasn't I have had one, I have to have 10.
Yeah.
It was the character I'd created, this avatar that people liked me when I was Smithy or big ads and whatever.
Yeah.
So I wore this mask for what probably felt like 15, 20 years of a character, knowing full well it didn't align with who I truly was.
And do you, when you playing this character, you're out with the lads on the night out, like, do you know that you're doing it at that time, do you think, or is that
I 100%
you get
think
lost
so.
in it?
A little bit of both, mate. So the thing is, I've got a very different perspective on alcohol. I'm not just a do-gooder who stopped drinking and thinks I'm better than everyone. I've been in close connection with alcohol for, again, 20 plus years because I worked with it.
Yeah.
So what I saw during the years of the bars, I'd see a group of lads in the corner all sinking beers, and then Big Dave comes in, and Big Dave's like, "Way, Big Dave's here, way!" And he comes to the bar, and his face is just blank, and he's like, "Hiya, mate, can I get 4 Jaeger bombs?" And you're like, "Yeah, you all right, mate?" He's like, "Yeah, fine." We'll go back to the table, way, and you're like, "I know what's happening here." You feel like you have to be Big Dave, lads, neck 4 Jaeger bombs to catch up, when in reality, you're sick and tired of it. And I see it with countless CEOs, founders now, where they reach out to me on LinkedIn and they're just like, "I'm done. I am absolutely done with drinking. Just not helping me." That's my challenge.
Do you think it's a lack of purpose?
I think it's a lack of... I don't think it's a lack of identity. I think it's the fear of living in your true identity. Because a lot of men come to me and say, "I've lost my identity, Adam." Say, "Okay, answer these questions honestly." And I'll ask them about political views and what their favourite film is and what they stand for as a man and what their values are. And they tell me. I'm like, "Okay, that's who you are. Now who have you been portraying?" And they go, "Oh, fuck. Now I've seen the problem." We as a species have a fear of disconnection. Our biggest fear is death. And one of the ones removed from that is lack of connection, essentially, because we're a pack animal. You have to find your tribe. Everyone says that kind of phrasing, right? So the fear of disconnection and being isolated scares the shit out of us. So we'd rather stay in a group that doesn't serve us and live out of alignment of what we truly feel through fear, or what do we do next? If you actually leave that, knowing once you do leave it, it wasn't serving you, but to take that step is very bold, and it's a huge one. You'll find the Hyrox athletes if you want to start. If you want to run the triathlon, there's millions of people across the globe. There'll be thousands in your area, but you haven't looked for it yet because you just think that it doesn't exist based off your current reality and your focus on life, right? So I see a lot of people that are very confused about where they want to go because they never felt confident enough to say it without the fear of John, Steve, Dave going, "Okay, no, you're joking, aren't you? What's up with you? You've gone soft. Man up, toughen up." So men live this life of like quiet desperation, knowing where they want to go, but so fearful of doing it in case they get ostracized.
So how did he break that cycle?
Great question.
Thank you.
I would say a few things. Write down somewhere exactly where you want to go and be very specific. Don't just write weight loss. Right? I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. I want to be able to run 10K in X time. I want to be present with my family. I want to be the best father or husband or man or woman or whatever I possibly can. Then it comes down to using crystal clear and effective communication. But, Mr. Step, before that, there's something that my business partner said, the coffee test. Have a little think about if you went through a really big challenge with your partner and let's say business was on its arse. Honestly, how many people could you ring that could meet you for a coffee the next day and you could talk to about that without the fear of being judged or fixed or told, "It's going to be fine, mate. There's plenty more fish in the sea, mate. Oh, you're doing well anyway, mate," etc. And when that got sort of put towards me by my business partner, I thought, shit, I've got about 3 mates. The rest are acquaintances. The rest are drinking buddies. They're not bad people, but I'm not ringing them in a moment of crisis. And my scope for what a good friend now is who can you ring with bad news and they'll listen? Who can you ring with good news and they'll be excited? That's about it,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause it's a pretty good metric.
Yeah.
So doing the coffee test and being aware of that is one thing. And then using effective communication, explaining where you want to go. This is who I am. This is where I'm going. Are you with me? And some people will simply just say no. Or some people will say yes and then show you over time that the answer's no. So you have to get out of your head either way. And that all starts by writing pen to paper.
And then what's the next steps after that?
We don't lack resources. We lack resourcefulness. Some people will message me on LinkedIn going, how much water should I be drinking, Adam? I'm like, respectfully, I'm not a dick, so I'm not going to go, oh, Google it, pal. But Google it. If you go onto AI and say, I'm 6 foot tall and I weigh 12 stone and I exercise 3 times a week, I've got a fairly active job, how much water should I be consuming for optimal performance? And it will tell you. You could do that around the gym. You don't need an online PT planner. You've got AI now, right?
Yeah.
If you want accountability, that's very different, of course. And as a coach, I advocate for having accountability, of course. But at the same time, like, have a little think outside of yourself. Any question that you could put to someone else, the answer's there. So if your relationship's struggling, the top 5 books on relationships, the best speakers around relationships. If your business is going through a difficult moment or you've got a staff member that's not quite, and you type it in, how do I do conflict resolution? How do I ensure staff improve? So you'll find it. How do I find a group of people that are like-minded in this area? Bang, and it'll come up for it.
How hard is it to step out? So you talked about tribe. So you've got your tribe. It might be the lads in the pub. How hard do you think it is to step out of that into a new tribe?
It's one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. But what's the cost of staying there?
Yeah.
And for some men, the cost of staying there is their health or their marriage or their business because they're so attached to the former identity. So everything that I'm talking about today is really difficult. But there's that old phrase that everything's difficult.
Yeah.
Being fat is difficult. Being fit is difficult. Being married is difficult. Being single at 40 is difficult. Having kids is difficult. Not being able to conceive is difficult. Starting a business is difficult. Being in a job you hate is difficult.
Choose your difficult.
Correct. So everything is really difficult. But how is the current reality helping you? And you might go, oh, it's just, I'm just in my comfort zone, Adam. And I hear that a lot. And it's not about being comfortable because it's not comfortable at all. There's nothing comfortable about being miserable or overweight or drinking too much or your marriage going to shit. But it's really familiar. So you're actually in the familiar zone.
Yeah.
It's so familiar to you because you don't know any different. That's the issue.
What do you think? I'm just going to rob a question here on another podcast, but what's the difference between a nice guy and a good man?
Matthew McConaughey, that wasn't it? I don't want to steal his answer either. I want to think about it.
But do you agree with it that's... Because I feel like your answer you just gave then is a lot of people don't want to break from the norm because it's easy to be nice about it and they're comfortable, but also it makes the friends comfortable, the people pleasing.
The nice guy is someone who doesn't speak their truth, who, when the partner says, oh, we're going to, Auntie Pat's birthday this weekend, and you categorically either can't go or don't want to go, and you just go, oh, okay, and then you turn up and you fucking hate it, and you've got a face on the whole time, and your partner says, what's wrong with you? And you go, oh, nothing. I've been a nice guy, just dancing to the beat of everyone's drum. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that we don't value family time, and selfless and self-preservation, which we can get into later, but I think that a good man knows who he is and what he stands for, and that is done at the risk of, I don't like saying offending people, because offence can only be taken, it can't be given. And when I say that, some people don't like that. Oh, well, what about people that are abusive and whatever? Well, they don't think they're offending you, otherwise they wouldn't say it. I remember I saw a clip the other day from Christopher Waltz when he was interviewed about Inglourious Bastards years ago. And they said, oh my God, how could you get into such a sinister character? You must have had to really dive into this person's methodology and ideology of the world. And he was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, he didn't think he was evil. So I don't think I need to be evil. I need to play the man.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God. It's like a light bulb went off in my head. And when I saw the phrase, you can only take offence, it's true. Because some people get offended by certain levels of comedy, but other people laugh. So therefore, it's not offensive. You find it offensive.
Yeah.
Why do you find it offensive? Ask yourself, oh, that's why. Because maybe it's triggering something in me. for instance. So going back to the point or the question, I think being a nice guy is almost apologising for existing. I see it. In the UK, we're a nightmare for it. We'll bump into, or someone will walk into us and we'll say sorry, right? Whereas in other cultures or countries, you probably get a smack or you get a verbal abuse at least. And, you know, a friend of mine's Polish, and he said the difference is unbelievable. If you bump into someone and you don't apologise because you walked into them over there, very different outcome where he's from. But over here, oh, sorry. And I see
it's
it.
that politeness, isn't it? It's the British politeness.
Well, I think it's British people pleasing.
Yeah.
You know, we're so scared of our own shadow a lot of the time, and we tut when people walk in front of us in Starbucks in the queue. A good man will just simply go, oh, excuse me, I'm actually first.
Yeah.
Oh. And they might not like it, but they don't have to. And if they kick off and go, no, I'm first, that's where the Mel Robbins theory of let them comes in, and you go, okay, I'm not bothered enough.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my take on it. I think that as long as you're living in alignment with your value system, you're a good man. Otherwise, you're being a bit of a pushover. And I've coached men that are 6'4" that walk around like they're 3'2". They apologise for walking in rooms with their body language and the words they use to describe themselves. I was just in the gym this morning. There's a guy there who's 45 years old, built like a brick shit house, fit as a fiddle. And not fit as a fiddle for his age, fit as a fiddle, if you put him against most people. But the language he uses to describe himself, he's just, oh, God, I'm such an idiot. Or the other day, he's like, fucking hell, I'm such a fat idiot. And I'm like, fucking hell, I'm such a fat idiot. And I went up to him, I was like, mate, I said, bloody hell. He goes, what? I said, that's a bit much, wasn't it? He said, what? I said, you just called yourself a fat idiot. He's like, what? He didn't even realise he'd said it. And he's walking around all day saying these things. And he's lost about 25 kilograms this year. Looks great. And I saw him for the first time in like a month because he'd been off. And I said, mate, you look amazing. He's like, yeah, still carrying a bit around my gut though.
I think,
so harsh on himself.
Yeah, but people they won't speak to anyone else like that, but they'd speak to themselves like that, wouldn't they? Like that happens a lot.
Yeah, it's what I refer to as like abusing your inner child. You won't go up to a 6-year-old and go, you fucking fat idiot. Well, I'd like to think not.
Yeah.
So why do we do it to ourselves? Again, it's an old pattern. It's an old program. So it's something I'm obsessed with is the labels and the language that we use to describe ourselves. So it doesn't mean that we have to look in the mirror and go, I'm wonderful, I'm amazing, because I don't believe in positive affirmations, but I don't believe in unnecessary negativity either. So to build self-esteem is in the actions you do or that you don't do. If you keep promising yourself, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to exercise, and then you don't, I always do this, I always self-sabotage. When if you said, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, and you actually turn up and go for 20 minutes, you've built some self-esteem.
Yeah.
So it is in the doing. But people won't do if they don't believe they're worth of the outcome.
What, I guess like a lot of this kind of changing your life, being positive, there's a scaling of doing what you're saying you do, but also kind of the reading The Secret and believing that if I say I'll have a Ferrari 5 times a day, that I'll have a Ferrari. How did you combat against the sort of the nonsense between the stuff that works?
So visualization without action is mental masturbation.
Okay.
So you can affirm anything you want. You can affirm a 6-pack, but if you sat on your arse eating crisps and biscuits, nothing's going to happen and you're always going to be miserable. Now, everything that I've affirmed in my mind when we started A-Game has happened. I wanted to sell men's retreats. We did it, and we've filled 5 of them so far. I wanted to coach pro athletes in the Premier League. We've done it. I wanted to coach rugby league players. We've done it. I wanted to coach celebrities. I've done it. Everything that we've set out to do has been followed by an intention. So, for instance, I said to my business partner a couple of years ago, I'm just going to set myself a bit of a task here. I'm going to coach a Premier League footballer. And he goes, okay. And I said, I'm going to give myself 6 weeks. He's like, fucking hell, it's not a long time. I was like, I'm going to give myself 6 weeks. So I started going onto LinkedIn. I started typing in football. And it came up with agents. It came up with coaches. It came up with some players, right? So I thought, who do I maybe know in my network? And my brother's best friend is the head scout at Villa. I was like, worth a conversation. Started a conversation. And then, the Villa men's team at the minute, they don't necessarily need any mindset coaching. Maybe you could do the WSL team. Then we were close to doing a talk for them. It fell through at last minute. Then that led to talking to Brentford's academy. And then it led to talking to someone else. And I can't say the player in which it was. But then I went on holiday to the Algarve. And I know there's a warm weather camp out there in Quinta del Lago called the Campus. And I stayed at the Conrad Hotel. And I knew that the players hung around there. So set my stall out. Saw about 30 Premier League footballers there from Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Tottenham, all people you'd know. Yeah. And I was just sat in the sauna, and then this person walked in, and I started having a conversation with him. And then we were in there for about half an hour, and I nearly passed out in the fucking sauna.
So you got that target.
And he was absolutely fine because he just adjusted to it, and he's way fitter than I am. So, and then he went in the cold plunge, and he came back in the sauna, and we were just chatting away, and then lo and behold, he actually became a client. Just from listening to him and showing him the value of what I positioned. So,
but you think that visualization is a good tool, but as long as you have action with it?
Absolutely, because visualization without it is delusion. So, I can affirm, like I said, the six-pack, the multi-million pounds, whatever, but if you don't take the action, nothing happens. And that is the magic, is in the doing or the not doing. That's the clarity that you seek, is in just making the fucking decision, because so many people procrastinate because they don't know what they actually want and they think it's too scary. But if I gave you enough leverage and you say to me, I'm a procrastinator, Adam, and I put a gun to your head and said, do this task, you're going to do it. So therefore you don't procrastinate, right?
Yeah.
But the label of I'm a procrastinator says to me, low self-esteem, low confidence, no conviction, and you don't really know what you want and why you want it. So I don't take it at face value when people say I'm a procrastinator. It's nonsense. We all do procrastinate, but it doesn't mean you're a procrastinator, because you do take action every single day without knowing it. But when you attach that heavy label to yourself, it's not useful. So you put yourself, first and foremost, the action was research. Then it was putting myself in the right environment. It was reaching out to people, sending, I don't know how many messages I sent and got absolutely nowhere. But every no was just a recourse for me. I was like, right, okay, it's not a no, it's just not now.
Yeah.
So, and then, right, they all hang out over there. I'm going to go over there and talk to people and see if it works. And it did. So that can apply to pretty much anything. I really do believe that. But a lot of people don't want the constant rejection, because then it re-encants the belief that I'm not good enough and that I don't deserve to be happy.
If you've got low self-esteem, then getting rejection is going to be, it's not going to serve that, is it? You're going to make yourself worse.
Correct.
How do you build your self-esteem, do you think?
By taking action.
Is it by seeing the results from the action, or do you think taking action is enough?
Taking action's enough, but setting the barrier almost, I don't mean embarrassingly, like, haha, you're an idiot for doing that, but so low that you can't not achieve it. So, and I'm going to go to the extreme here just for a second. When people are manically depressed and they're sectioned, and they're staying in like a facility for X amount of time, one of the techniques that they use is they say, right, because they need them to do something practically. Because a lot of people say to me that they're feeling depressed when, again, like I said earlier, they're doing depressed with their body language or whatever. So they get them to say, I don't suppose you could hoover this little bit of the carpet, could you? Oh, maybe not today. Okay, well, maybe we could just, I don't know, polish some cutlery or do something like that. How does that sound? Yeah, I can do that. Over time, it'll compound, and before you know it, they're cleaning the whole room without thinking about it. The reason why people don't start is because of comparison. They compare themselves to a standard that they used to have. I used to be really fit and healthy, and now I'm not. Or they compare themselves to somebody they've seen on the internet or their inner circle. So when people do say comparison's a thief of joy, it depends. I use comparison as a driver. I compare to someone that's a few steps ahead of me and go, what are they doing that I need to learn to get me to that level? Of course, in the past, I have compared and gone, oh, I'm an idiot, they're better looking than me. And we all do that internally, but whenever you say it out loud, fucking hell. So the goal, if you're overweight right now, is not to lose 20 kilograms.
Yeah.
The goal is to type in on Amazon walking shoes or running shoes. That's your first goal. Can you do that?
Yeah.
I can do that. Fantastic. Can you go out for a walk tomorrow for 10 minutes? Well, yeah, of course. Great. Right. Just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Because again, in 90 days, they will be jogging or they will be doing something more productive, but we don't want to future cast too far ahead. And while I don't necessarily work with people that are at the stage of, can you just go out for a walk? Because there's plenty of great services out there for that. But that's where I do begin with people that's comparative. If they want to run a marathon or they want to set up that 7-figure business, let's buy the domain first. Let's make sure the website...
one step at a time.
Correct.
Consistency. You just need to start.
Bingo. And I know it's really shit advice, and you've probably heard it on a million podcasts before, and it's not groundbreaking, but all the clarity you're seeking is coming from the work that you're avoiding.
Yeah. I think part of the issue is that there's so much bullshit on podcasts and social media of 5 ways to make $1 million, like 10-step guide to whatever it is, when really it's just really hard work and being consistent. And if you want to do that, then you'll probably achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think I think you're exactly right. The starting is the most important part. But people don't get... Why do they get so scared of that starting point, do you think?
Usually it's... When people say, it's not that deep, more often than not it is. A lot of the work I do with people is around healing the inner child and getting to the result quickly, not in a therapy way of lay on the sofa and let's, cry for an hour unnecessarily. But I do believe that a lot of, again, it's mainly men I coach, but I do coach women as well, but mainly men have suppressed their emotions for so long. Their goal is to feel like shit about themselves because it's something that they've known for ages. And when you say that to people, they look at you like you've got two heads. Why would anybody's goal be to feel like shit? Well, the reason why might be that the only way you received love as a kid was when you were playing the victim. Oh, mummy, someone yelled at me at school. Oh, darling, come here. You're amazing. You're wonderful. So their emotional attachment is vulnerability equals cuddles and equals reassurance. And we're all big kids still, right? In the best way possible with childish humour, but in the destructive way, when I see someone getting angry in traffic, I just see a child overreacting. That's not what a rational adult does. Because the rational adult understands I can't change how many vehicles are in front of me, and also I'm part of traffic.
I'm part of the problem.
I'm part of the fucking issue, right? What I'm really hearing is you're running late due to a reason of X, Y, Z, and it can be frustrating for sure, but when you display it, very different. So I think it's due to, most of the time anyway, it's due to the hardwiring from childhood of not feeling worthy of happiness, or when they get close to happiness, sabotaging it. Some people were raised with the belief that money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are snobs, things like that. So every time they get close to making money, they sabotage the deal, or they don't feel like anything's going to fulfill them, or they just keep working hard and don't know how to switch off. Because you have to work hard for your money. That's what I was taught. My dad's got a very successful plumbing and heating business. We have to work hard. Hard work, physical labour equals cash. So that's why I was in hospitality, working like 60, 80-hour weeks, running around like an idiot with no breaks for shit pay. Yeah.
How hard was it for you to... I'm guessing you've learned this through training or reading of some type. Like, how hard was it for you to confront some of those beliefs?
I still am, mate. I've got a coach for 3 years, and I'll never not have a coach because... Some people say it's a luxury, granted, but there's some amazing coaches out there that charge bugger all. So I think, by and large, most people listening to this podcast, we're not talking to people on the poverty line, okay? Yeah. So let's just, what about people on a council estate? People go to extremes to make a point sound stupid sometimes. Let's just go with your average listener that's listening to this right now. I would imagine if they wanted to, they could prioritise themselves financially, look at their finances and go, I'm spending a shitload of money on going out to bars and clubs and getting pissed or going to fancy restaurants for no reason. How about I invest in myself? Because I think everyone needs a coach, or everyone would benefit from having a coach. Yeah. So I'm still doing that work now, but it's really, again, uncomfortable at the time. But it's kind of like what I refer to as going to the hygienist or the dentist or going for a Thai massage.
Yeah.
It feels horrible in the moment, but the sense of relief you get afterwards is just,
yeah, I guess the comparison with, going to the hygienist, you're not crying at the hygienist.
No.
Like, that's the scary part for a lot of people, isn't it? Or having to visit some of the difficult things about yourself is difficult.
It is.
And I guess when you're an adult, you can avoid those situations if you choose to. You might argue that you're running away, but I think as well there's a lot of stigma around going to see. I think that the difference in framing it as well as a therapist and coach is a big thing, because I do see it as a coach, whereas I think a lot of people would see it as a therapist. Yeah. So what do you think the stigma is around that?
It's a good point and a fair challenge there. I think I probably reference these things. I tell my suicide attempt story like a story I'm going to the shop, whereas some people won't even tell their best mate that they've stopped drinking. So I guess it's probably comparative there, and you're right. I think for me, I see it as going to the high G's, I'm like, oh, bloody hell, it's a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But some people will be shit scared. So fair, it might be more like the root canal.
Yeah.
Right? So fair enough on that. I think the stigma is still there because we don't know how to respond when men speak up still. And people can say that they do, but we don't. And it's a skill to listen without fixing or listen without judging. And we so want to fix and kiss the boo-boo and help people and get them free from the state, when in reality, if we just listened, it makes the world a difference. So let's say, because there's a framework, I don't know if you've heard of it, called the drama triangle. So similar to what I said earlier with the victimhood, at the bottom of the triangle is a victim or victim mindset.
Yeah.
You have a rescuer and you have a persecutor.
Yeah.
The victim will say, I'm an idiot, I'm so fat and I'm ugly. The rescuer says, no, you're not, mate, you're awesome, don't worry about that, you've been really hard on yourself. That is teaching the victim that I probably don't need to come to you anymore because all I'm going to get from that. Or some victims go, oh, I'm going to get more of that, but it keeps them in victimhood. The persecutor, they might go, oh, I hate my job. And week 1, week 2, you go, oh, it's going to be all right, mate, don't worry about it. After week 6 of hearing it, you might go, well, just leave then.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, just hand your notice in, because we get sick of rescuing, so we turn to persecutor. We want to flip this to what's known as the empowerment dynamic. So the role of the persecutor is now the challenger. The role of the rescuer is the coach, and then the victim now becomes the creator. So I have to do this as my role every day. When someone says, Adam, I'm a loser, I go, a loser? They go, yeah. Okay, what makes you say that? Well, yesterday I lost this deal that I'm working on and I didn't hit that PB in the gym. Right, okay. So does that mean you're a loser? Is that true? Challenge. Well, no, not really. Okay, so what's a better way of framing this, coach? I just had a bit of an off day yesterday. I am good at selling and I know I can do better tomorrow. They've got into creators straight away.
Yeah.
Right? So if we could learn that and teach that across schools and universities and whatever, I think emotional intelligence would be a lot higher. But a lot of men, going back to the quiet desperation piece, exists because we do get fixed, we do get judged, but partners don't know how to handle it either. And if men show too much vulnerability, it's not very nice for women. And people can challenge me on that all they want, but I don't know what part of the brain it is. I've not studied it. If for 99% of, well, maybe they even say 90, let's say 90% of people, if Margot Robbie walked down the street in a bikini, most people would go, wow, right? If someone that's 20 stone walked down the road in a bikini, a lot of people probably have an aversion to it. The same way that when we look at Ferraris and we look at transit vans, it's just different. And I think that when we see men crying, there's like a visceral response. And when men talk about being low and not having any hope and things like that from all the experience I've seen with, again, 90% of the women, it's almost like this, oh my God, this is really uncomfortable. They're not looking at them like they're a loser, but they don't know how to handle it. So it doesn't mean women are bad. It doesn't mean that men are bad. All I'm saying, mate, is that this is what I've seen after coaching 500 plus people.
And I think men themselves, I'm trying to think of like how that compares to social media now with people like Andrew Tate who are scaring the shit out of young lads to portray something that's we shouldn't be aiming for anyway. So I accept your point on that the vulnerability is showing it. People don't know how to react, but also they're being shown this. I can have loads of money if I speak to people like shit. And what's the relationship on that sort of toxic? I don't say toxic masculinity, but basically that.
I'd say it's a toxic behaviour, I agree. And unfortunately, a lot of people attach the word masculinity to it afterwards. I don't associate masculinity to belittling others or to being sexist or racist or abusive in any kind. I think masculinity is someone that knows who they are. They can be confident in who they are. They don't have to caveat things that they say. They can be strong, but they can be kind. They can be empathetic. They can challenge people in a healthy way. They can be brave. That's what I think of masculinity as. But unfortunately, we get it rammed down our throats, and we're in a society now where attention wins. So the louder someone shouts, the more you hear it. If I went round and asked 1,000 people in Manchester, have you heard of Andrew Tate? I'd probably get quite a large response. If I asked 1,000 people, have you ever heard of Gabor Mate, who's a brilliant man and doing incredible work, I'm guessing, of course, but 5 or 10 people might go, yes, might be more, but it'd be disproportionate. But Gabor Mate is very softly spoken. He's very calming, very relaxing to listen to, and he talks like this on everything that he does. Whereas Andrew Tate is like this, and he's in your face, and he's coming out with these outlandish and ridiculous thought processes for 99% of what he talks about. Unfortunately, that's going to win. So I hate that that's the case, but we are in that sort of phase right now of the internet and for social media.
And what do you think we can do to change that?
Educate, and how we educate is by having these conversations that you and I are having right now. And all we can do is all we can do, mate. And I think that it's being accepting of that. And you look at things like climate change, and I remember a piece where Sean Locke was the comedian was doing a skit around why am I washing out my Marmite pot when people in Canada are mopping up oil rigs with seal pups and stuff like that. Yeah. And not to sound corny or like Tesco, but every little does help with it, right? Yeah. And if we can bring about change by having open conversation and being vulnerable, at the risk of upsetting a few people potentially, some of what I've said today, some listeners will be going, what are you on about, mate? And that's okay. I don't expect everyone to agree with everything that I say, far from it. But in order to think, you have to risk offending a couple of people, or people being not understanding you or being confused by that. I'll do posts every day about sobriety on LinkedIn, and I'll talk about the benefits. And some people go, I don't want to stop drinking. Well, that's like walking into a flower shop going, I don't want any roses. Yeah. Well, fucking get out then, right? So it's, but it's obviously triggered something in their mind. Or some people will go, you need to stop preaching. The irony of that. Yeah. You're preaching to me, right? So again, I understand, mate, but the biggest strength we can have is being vulnerable. And I share my story vulnerably every day. I've got 20 articles on Reddit taking the piss out of me. Because someone gave me the links to it once, and I questioned, why are you showing me this? But I stupidly read them a couple of years ago. It's called LinkedIn Lunatics. And you see all these, there's some like satire posts that get mistaken as being serious. But I've been featured on that many, many times, and the comment sections, not just attacking my message, but attacking my appearance and what the fuck's he talking about? I wish he'd have carried on in the car and killed himself. Comments on TikTok, saying, when I talk about suicide ideation, they say, oh, why don't you just take some pills and shut the fuck up, mate? It's hard to read it sometimes, but I have to disassociate from someone else's pain and not make it my reality. But I have to keep talking about it because we have a negativity bias in our brain and we only look for the bad. There was thousands of comments. I had a post that went like mega viral, like 2 million views, and thousands and thousands of comments. And 95% of them were, this is amazing, you've really helped me today, and da-da-da-da-da. But our brain goes, oh my God, look at that negative one. So I think how we combat it is by being brave and is by speaking up about what we really, truly believe without the fear of people judging it. Because they're going to judge you anyway. Yeah. If I found a cure to cancer tomorrow, I'm going to get judged for it. Why didn't you find it sooner? Yeah. Or comments like that. So
in that moment, you read it, you're on the comments, someone said something pretty horrific. Explain to me what do you do in that moment to not make that negative or not make that impact you as much as it could do.
I'm not going to lie, mate. The instantaneous response is almost breathtaking when you see it. And it's like a light switch. I don't think you'll ever get rid of that. So it's to focus on the breath, because so many people start arguments because they can't regulate the breathing. People get assaulted because they get so het up, and they're all we're made up of is chemicals. So if I'm spiking my cortisol and my adrenaline by getting more agitated or more emotional, it's not going to help me. So I have to just look at the screen and go, maybe 10 deep breaths. And then I'll either just delete it, I'll block them because I don't need it there. If someone's got a different opinion to me, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
If they say, I drink 2 beers a week, Adam, and I'm absolutely fine, I go, great, I don't care. Like, I'm not speaking to you either.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me if you drink alcohol or not, because it makes no difference to my day. I'm saying I stopped, and then I've helped someone else stop, and these are the benefits they saw. That's it.
Yeah.
If you've taken offence to that, you've taken it so personally, you feel the need to comment, again, I wonder why people are doing that. But when it's outright abuse, and it's you're this or you're that or you're the other, I just remove it from my environment.
Yeah.
And, luckily I've got a team now where I don't have to be online every day or see the negativity, but it won't stop me putting out the stuff, Yeah. So the best tip or trick or whatever you want to call it is imagine it's being said about someone else, not about you.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, yeah, it's still pretty shit, but I'm all right.
Yeah, because I think it's easy to say, oh, you just ignore it. But like you said, we will focus to the negative things as opposed to the positive things, and then it's quite easy to see how they would derail you, even someone like extremely positive like yourself and very set in your values. It could quite easily derail you if they touch something that, especially if it's personal.
Oh mate, it's horrendous. I saw it with when I said about the Algarve, Harry Maguire was there.
Yeah,
lovely lad. I spoke to him for 5 minutes. I never get pictures with anyone just because I don't think it's embarrassing. I get why people do it, but I'm like, well, why are you taking that picture? Because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And they just think, you might fuck off anyway. So we're just stood in the queue for a coffee at the campus, and 2 lads went past him. One of them went, slabhead, and he just looked at it because obviously the nickname he was been given. But he just went, mate, why have you said that to me? He's like, oh, I'm only joking, mate. And he just said, oh, fuck off. And he's like, oh, getting angry, are we? And I thought, what are you doing? Yeah. So I can't even fathom what it's like for someone in the public arena, as it were, on that scale. That must be horrific. And I think it's very different. But the occasional comment on social media, I can take it. But if I was been featured on articles numerous days and Sky Sports and the abuse they get, oh my God.
It's almost, would you, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Like I do think, is it worth being in the public eye for the amount of abuse they get? I don't know.
Must be awful.
I don't know if I'd want to do it.
No, that's the thing, mate. So I think of it as, again, it's easy to say now. I'm not suggesting how I would react if someone said that to me. I certainly won't go to violence or anything of the sort, but it'd be very difficult. But I think that my purpose and my drive is too big to be derailed by hate and hateful comments. And Brené Brown talked about it, like the famous speech around the man in the arena, and she had her first TED Talk go viral to the tune of 6.4 million views in X amount of weeks. And the comment section, she said, I've never felt so much shame and embarrassment ever, but because I realised that was me judging me. So, because shame and guilt can only exist when you judge. If you don't judge yourself and you bring in curiosity instead, and you don't judge others as much, it makes life quite free and quite peaceful. Yeah,
I think that's something everyone can try. I think you have to stop yourself from judging people. I think your immediate reaction is to form an opinion like that, isn't it? Whether that's right for the good or bad, but I think it's difficult to kind of drill back from that and not judge people, I guess.
Yeah. You always will. So I think that the challenge isn't to... It's kind of like when you feel an emotion and you display an emotion. It's similar to judgment. You can feel angry at traffic, but displaying it by honking the horn and beating the steering wheel, it's like a toddler, right? and we get frustrated at ourselves for being frustrated, and we start judging ourselves. When I literally did it on the train this morning, there's a young girl sat next to me, phone on speakerphone, couldn't be talking any louder if she tried, laughing her head off, whatever, and I just thought, judgment was, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. To verbalise it, and I thought, no, I've got big headphones, I can just put them on instead.
Yeah.
And just tune this out. Someone else did say something to her, but I don't know what they said, because again, I'm not interested in gossip and bullshit, but we'll judge the person with the pink hair and the piercings. We'll judge anything that is perceived to be different from us, but you can do it quietly, internally, and then you can create, not saying create empathy for someone that looks different to you, but you can create curiosity and go, they think they look great. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because they probably look at me and go, wearing a t-shirt is really tight.
Yeah.
Right? So what's he wearing that hat for?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Just on that then, you spoke earlier about maybe you didn't have empathy when you were a lot younger, and that's something that when you started your business, that you learn more of. Was that a conscious thing, or do you just think that's maturity?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
I was the guy that would try get a laugh at the expense of anyone through my teens and my 20s, so I can make people laugh at the drop of a hat. So, but I did it for all the wrong reasons. I'd do it to ridicule others. I'd be the guy that would take the piss out of children in need and make inappropriate jokes, but then I'd watch it on the night with my mum and dad, and I'd probably cry and donate because I was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So the only way I could sort of build rapport was by making people laugh, and it didn't matter how I got that. So I knew intellectually what I was doing was wrong, but I kept doing it because it was providing me with something. Now I have enough self-care and enough self-love to say, I don't want to go home today and hate myself. So I am going to go on this podcast today, and I am going to say what I believe, and I don't need to be aggressive or divisive intentionally, but it will be divisive by some of what I've said today, because not everyone will agree, and that's okay. But my intention isn't that. My intention before was to get a laugh at the expense of somebody, and it didn't matter who it was. But that was because I was suffering, and because I felt pain, and I felt I deserved to feel like shit about myself because I didn't like myself. And when we criticise others, the body doesn't know any different, so we may as well be criticising ourselves. So the next time you consider mocking someone's outfit, or taking the piss out of them on social media, just pause and just go, does this need to be said? Probably not. So I can internalise it, but I'm not going to judge myself for judging, because we can't help it. Again, it's just a hardwired response. The same way that when a car backfires, we flinch.
Yeah.
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
If you see a group of lads walk on the train and they're all loud, you're going to go, oh, fuck. Or then you go, they're not trying to inconvenience me. They're trying to have a good time. So I don't need to allow their behaviour to disturb what I'm doing. If they come within my space and they become aggressive, very different. That does become my responsibility. But I don't need to say anything or do anything right now, because I'm in control of what I do. If that changes, I take action. But right now I can sit back, headphones in, and focus on what I'm doing.
You said something there as well that I think that I'd like to pick up on. How long in this process did you start to like yourself? So from when you kind of made that change, how long did it take you to say, yeah, I like myself?
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... I don't think it's... I think about this in the same way I think about grief. I think it's fleeting. And I think grief can be, like this year I lost my auntie on my birthday. She was 70, MS, struggling like fuck for years. But I'm really grateful now that she died on my birthday, because it gives me an even bigger reason to remember her. And it's a thing that I share with her now, which is brilliant. And she's out of pain and she's out of suffering and all that kind of stuff. But last Friday, I just got really upset because I miss her. And I thought, fuck, that came out of nowhere. Because I cried at her funeral, and I cried when I heard about her passing. But I haven't since. And I know it'll hit me again, maybe in 5 years. And it's the same with liking yourself. I don't think there's this finish line of saying, I now love myself in everything that I do, because I will let myself down again.
No, that's fine.
I will let myself down in some capacity tomorrow, I would imagine. But how long do I want to punish myself for? I don't need to punish myself anymore. I think that's different. So if we accept the reality of I said something or I did something that perhaps isn't in alignment with where I'm going, I can create compassion. I can create empathy for myself. But I don't want to create enablement. A very big difference. Enablement is I do something bad. Oh, it's all right, mate. Don't worry about it. The next day I do something bad. Oh, don't worry, mate. You're working hard on yourself, and continue on that path.
Yeah.
I don't think that's useful at all. So it is finding that harmony between the two, but I don't think there's this finish line of self-acceptance and self-love. I think it's a practice. It's meditation practice. It's practicing gratitude. It's practicing self-care, self-love, self-appreciation. So, yeah, it's still a work in progress, but I'm a damn sight better at it now than what I was.
Yeah, I think on the grief thing, I think you're right. Like, I lost my dad when I was 27, and I think you just kind of go through stages. Obviously, it's really hard at the first, but I'll hear a song now and it'll make me cry, or there's just little things that come and go and it comes better. And I think it's nothing's that final or that complete where it's now like myself, now I don't like myself. It is just a learning to live and accept whatever it is, and work at it if you need to.
Yeah.
I think talking helps
Massively.
I think, especially with grief. I wouldn't speak about him for years, and then when I did, it's like a release. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
You feel warmer to it as well. I think it's my weakness, because if I ever hear it or I ever speak about my dad, it's my Achilles heel. He's like, no, it's your strength. You need to frame it as your strength, because that is what makes you. Everything that you learn. And I think that kind of was a bit of a light bulb switch that made a difference for me.
Yeah. Grief is all the love that we weren't showing, or that we didn't get enough chance to show. And it's just coming out in a different way, because there's never enough time with loved ones. There'll never be enough time. And, it's such a poignant thing to talk about death, and it's something that people avoid, but we're all going to go through it. It's the only thing we share as humans. So it's the one commonality. And the thought of it scares the shit out of me. But I think that leaning into it and embracing the idea behind it will shape your decisions in a better way. And I absolutely agree with what Danny said to you, is that it's more than okay to feel that way. And it'd almost be concerning if you didn't.
Yeah.
Because that is to deny how you really feel. And that's not emotional intelligence. That's emotional ignorance. Allowing the emotion to be present without judgment is the biggest act of self-care we can do. Because some people go, oh, being angry is really bad. Well, it depends. If you're at your 3-year-old's birthday party, yes, it's probably really bad. If someone's running at you with a knife, maybe not. So I don't think that any emotion is necessarily a bad thing because it has positive intent behind it in the moment. We can reflect afterwards, but that's only hindsight. Oh, I wish I didn't do that yesterday, but you did. So where do we go from here? It's a great question, that. If you're in conflict with anyone, you're right and I'm probably right. Rather than going round in circles, where do we go from here? What's the plan?
Yeah.
Right? It's the best way to break an argument with the spouse.
Yeah.
Best way with your children. Best way with yourself.
Yeah.
Frankly. So I'd invite you to keep doing what you're doing with that, and allow the thought of your dad to be present, and allow the emotion to be there, and extend that love that he will be naturally putting towards you when you do think of him, as opposed to the judgment or the guilt that you might be feeling around it. Because it's a beautiful gift to be able to sit there with it and go, I really fucking miss him, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that time when the way he laughs, and the way that we used to watch football together, or that favourite pub we used to go and have the most amazing roast, and he'd say that thing to the waiter, and whatever, all the idiosyncrasies that he had. Yeah, I'd be leaning into that as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, 100%. So just to finish off, you've covered a lot, and I think people get a lot from it. What would your advice be on how people can raise the floor?
I go on a lot of podcasts, and people often ask me in a roundabout way, what's the one gem that you've got, and things like that. I think raising the floor on that question is to literally raise your standards And the reason why that's such a simple concept is because it literally applies to anything and everything, always. Whether it's Lionel Messi, his ability isn't as good, or his body won't allow him to do what he could do before, but his standard when it comes to recovery needs to be 10x better than what it was when he first began. So he's improved that. When you look at all the greats, Ronaldo and the like, he probably didn't sleep as well as he does now as he did back then. He probably didn't train as hard as when he did, as he does now, when he did when he was 17 coming through at Man United. So if the top level athletes can apply the methodology, we probably can too, and it works. So that raising the standard might be in recovery of after exercise. It might be if you drink twice a week, raise your standard. I'm going to have a week off it and see how I feel.
Yeah.
If it is that business development thing that you're looking at, raise your standard. Doesn't mean work more. It means I might need to communicate better. So to raise the floor is to raise your standards. But the one gem, as it were, and how it's applicable is, out of all the podcasts I've either hosted, been on, YouTube videos I've listened to, hundreds of people I've coached, it's asking yourself, what's a more helpful thought at any moment? It's not false positivity, rah-rah, it's just more helpful. So I remember when we sold out one of our first retreats years ago, we had 10 spots sold. Great, amazing. First retreat. A few weeks before, 4 people dropped out in the space of 2 days. And I ran my coach. I was like, for fuck's sake. He's like, what? I said, we've only got 6 people on our first retreat. He's like, oh, interesting. What's a more helpful thought, Adam? I went, well, I don't want to deny how I'm feeling. He goes, I'm not asking you to, but what's a more helpful way of framing this? I've got 6 people on my first retreat.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, there you go. And he goes, what else? I said, well, they're all going to get more time with me now. Great. The testimonials are going to be better. Yeah. More food for everyone because you already paid for it. Yeah. And it was exactly how it meant to be, because the weekend was incredible and it was amazing. And I apply that to everything. When I am being hard on myself, I'll pause and just literally, I'll have it as a reflection tool in my journal every day. What's a more helpful thought? Okay. Yeah, I was really hard on myself yesterday or earlier today. I'm not a complete idiot. I'm doing the best I can and I'm going to improve today. Great. If your marriage is going through a difficult time, I'm going to be alone forever and I'm never going to find love again. What's a more helpful thought? This is a difficult moment. I need to get through it. Podcast is doing all right. Wish it could do better. What's a more helpful thought? I'm building something really fucking cool. And that takes time to build. That kind of reframing. Yeah, is the single best way to raise the floor as well. Step outside yourself.
Brilliant. Absolutely love that. Cheers, Adam.
Pleasure.